Here, we want to identify at first that this is a quadratic because it's got an x squared to it and an x to it. And for a quadratic, you want to get everything on one side equal to 0, preferably with the x squared side being positive. So we can accomplish that if we add 4x squared and 7x to both sides. So we'll have 0 equals 4x squared plus 7x minus 36. So now we should notice that we've got a quadratic in the ABC format here. And if we had a B and a C coefficient and nothing in the A spot, in other words, we'd have the invisible 1 in the A spot, that would be BC factoring. And for BC factoring, you get two numbers that add to B and multiply to C, which in this case would be 7 and negative 36. And once you find those two numbers for BC factoring, then you're done. But this is ABC factoring because we do have a number in the A spot, which is right here. So because we have a number in the A spot, it's ABC factoring. And there we want two numbers that add to B just like before, but they also need to multiply to AC. And A times C is 4 times negative 36. So we want two numbers that add to 7 and multiply to negative 144, which is 4 times negative 36. So to do our factoring, we need to find what two numbers do that. So let's just break down the factors of 144. Of course, it divides by 1. Of course, it divides by 2 because it's positive, because it's even. Does it divide by 3? Yes, it's 48 times 3. And we're just going to go down the list until we get a pair of numbers that could combine to give you 7. So does it divide by 4? It doesn't divide by 5 because it doesn't end in 0 or 5. Does it divide by 6? So we're getting warmer and warmer to having two numbers that can combine to give you a 7. And we'll see that in a second. So does it divide by 7? No. Does it divide by 8? So it's 8 times 18. Does it divide by 9? 9 times 16. And that's going to be the one. Because with combinations of positives and negatives, we could get a 7 here. We're going to end up wanting to have a positive 16 and a negative 9. Because 16 minus 9 is guess what? It's 7. And 16 times negative 9 is negative 144. So that's perfect. So for ABC factoring, once you find your numbers, you're going to split the middle term. So we're going to have 4x squared. And instead of 7x, we're going to write plus 16x minus 9x. And also we had minus 36. That was already there. The next step in ABC factoring is to use a greatest common factor to do GCF factoring for the first two and for the second two. And the fancy name for that is that's called factoring by grouping. So we'll take out the 4x and it leaves us with x plus 4. And for the next two, the common factor is negative 9. So if we take out negative 9, that leaves us with x plus 4. If we had taken out positive 9, we wouldn't have gotten the parentheses to be identical. And that's an essential. These two things here must match. If they don't, it means you did something wrong and you want to go back and try to figure out what that was. But now we've got two terms. We've got this term and this term, and they both have a greatest common factor of x plus 4. So we can factor out the x plus 4. It leaves us with 4x minus 9. So we've reached our answer in terms of factoring. Now, all of this was equal to 0 from the beginning. So now we can use our zero product rule, where we're going to take both of these parentheses and set them each independently equal to 0. That's because two things can't multiply together and give you a product of 0 if one of them is not 0. So the zero product rule allows you to say x plus 4 is 0, 4x minus 9 is 0. And so here, if you take away 4 from both sides, you'll have negative 4. Here you can add 9 to both sides and then divide by 4. So you have negative 4 as one of your answers and 9 over 4 as the other answer. Let's make that neater. And the answer of those two that's being offered to us is B. And that is the positive solution because negative 4 would have been our negative solution. So the answer here is B.